What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic: boxing sanctioning bodies will monitor the approval of matches involving Russian fighters. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. All right, there's a lot going on in boxing right now. As you guys might know, also related to boxing, because we have some boxers that's involved. Some top tier boxers. There's a war going on between Russia and Ukraine, and fighters like Vladimir Klitschko and his brother. Also Alexander Usyk, heavyweight champion, who just recently defeated Anthony Joshua, and also Lomachenko, the Matrix. These guys are Ukrainian, and they are caught up in the fighting, and they're in Ukraine right now, and there's a lot of stuff going on over in Ukraine. Okay, let's just say that. So, as in any war, there's a lot of hysteria going on. Okay, war is hell, as they say, and naturally there's a lot of various in any war. It's usually civilians that bear the brunt of it. Because that's the nature of war, and we all saw that in Afghanistan war. Okay, we saw that in the war against Libya. We saw that in the war against Iraq and the invasion, and destruction of Iraq. We saw that, almost 1 million people died in that war, close to it, if not more. So, war is, hell. Okay, let's just say that, all right? And, you know, um, war is never really the answer, because at the end of the day, people are gonna have to sit down and talk. Whether it's before the war, or after the war. So it's just best to talk before the war. Okay, before all these lives are lost for no reason, and that's the same thing advice I would give in Afghanistan. I mean, in Russia and Ukraine, they need to sit down around the table and talk to each other. Okay, before things get totally out of hand. I mean, enough people have died already that shouldn't have died if they would just sat down and talked this thing out, amongst themselves. So now we're seeing that uh, Ukraine is getting, is willing to talk now. They've been trying to get, America and the rest of the world involved in their war with Russia. Basically, that would have been a recipe for World War III. Okay, so we don't need that right now. We don't need World War III, like I said. So, uh, you know, Ukraine and Russia just need to work this out between them, and they live right next to each other. They're neighbors. So as neighbors, they should be able to get along. Now, with that being said, Vladimir Klitschko is out there calling for banning Russian fighters and for not sanctioning the fights with involving Russian fighters. And I don't understand why he's doing that. I mean, I didn't hear him calling for any ban on American fighters during the invasion of Iraq. Okay, I mean, civilians died in that war. Same thing with Libya, same thing with Afghanistan. I didn't hear Vladimir Klitschko calling for banning the French people, the French fighters that was involved in Afghanistan or in Iraq, or the uh, UK fighters that was involved when the UK was involved in the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan and in Libya. I didn't hear Vladimir Klitschko out there talking about banning the UK fighters or UK boxers or UK sports figures. I didn't hear him saying that. Okay, so now I even hear people out there, well, the WBO for one, continuously disrespecting black people again by talking about how they're banning Russian sanctioning Russian fights because they're basing their stance on the fact that uh in their stance against apartheid. I mean, what the heck? What are you trying to tell me that you're trying to compare what happened in South Africa for God knows how many years to what's going on that's been happening in Ukraine for a couple of weeks? Are you serious? So this is the kind of foolishness that we see going on. This is what I call hysteria, really. Okay, so you might as well compare it to the Holocaust then, if that's what if you want to compare what's going on in Afghanistan. If you're gonna compare what's going on in Ukraine right now, Russia and Ukraine to what happened in apartheid, then what you might as well compare it to the Jewish Holocaust. So I mean, this whole thing, is getting out of hand. Okay, and Vladimir Klitschko shouldn't be trying to inject Ukrainian war politics into boxing, okay? Because, like I said, I don't hear this. I didn't see nobody banning anybody else when there was wars going on, and this war is not like what happened in apartheid. It's not like the Jewish Holocaust. It's not like that, okay? So stop with the comparisons, WBC. The comparison is ridiculous. Okay, so at the end of the day, no one wants war. Like I said, war is never the answer. Okay, and like I said again, Ukraine and Russia need to sit down amongst themselves and talk this out. They're right next to each other. They're neighbors. That's their business, and they need to handle it. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so Vladimir Klitschko don't need to be injecting that into boxing here in America or anywhere else in the world. I see the British Board of Boxing, the BBBFC, are banning Russian, fighters and sanctioning. I mean, what kind of, this is like war hysteria, war mania. I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay, I mean, if you have Ukrainians in America, okay, who's rooting for Ukraine in this war, okay? Not some of them even going over there to fight. Some of them, some of these boxers like, Lomachenko, like Usyk and Klitschko, they're over there fighting right now, okay, or training to fight, okay? So, if they can do that, why can't the Russian fighters support their country? We're not involved in the war in America here. So if they're both living in America, and if you Ukrainian and you support your side, and then the other Russian, he's supporting his side, what's wrong with that? Why should one side get banned? If you're gonna ban both of them. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, but it's politics. So again, which is why we don't want to inject that into boxing. Okay, we need to keep it out of boxing. Okay, keep it politics where politics belongs, and leave boxing where boxing is. We don't need to get involved in that. That's a slippery slope. What are you going to do for every war that goes on? You're going to be banning the whoever politics you agree with or disagree with. I mean, look how many wars that's been going on over the years. That's a never-ending situation. So boxing don't need to get involved with that. So Vladimir Klitschko, with all due respect, you need to just keep that, keep that out of boxing. Okay, end of story. That's how I see that. And right now, the Ukraine, now everybody's over here talking about how the Ukrainians are suffering over there, and yes, and in any war, people are going to suffer because in a war, typically it's the civilians that are going to bear the benefit. That's why war is not to. I don't agree with war really, and we know that war should always be a last resort, and it shouldn't even be any resort at all. Okay, because we can, at the end of the day, people are going to have to talk, whether before or after the war. So it's best to just talk before, because at the end of the day, prevention is better than the cure all the time. Okay, without exception. Okay, so it's best to prevent something than to try to cure it. Okay, so uh, you know, now again, with all this talk about the suffering of the Ukrainians, there's a lot of stuff going on over there in Ukraine, that people need to know about as well, because Ukraine, is not, exactly, it takes two to tango, okay? And right now you have situations over there in Ukraine where you have African students and, Indian students, you know, uh, push getting, being the last to get on the train to get out of there. They're trapping them in the war zone, not letting them get out. So, there's a lot of stuff going on over there that, is not cool. And, just to illustrate that, take a look at this.
Here's what is happening in Africa now.
So this is in Ukraine. They're trying to get into Poland to get over the border to get to safety. And they're letting all the Europeans, all the Ukrainians, white Ukrainians, get in the train and leave to the stuff out there. So, there it is. Ukraine and Poland, keeping Africans in the war zone. This is what is going on over there as well. Okay, so let's not lose sight of what's really going on over there. Ukraine is not exactly showing their best face in all of this, all of what's going on. In the way they're treating, some. I mean, they even arresting people over there for claiming that they're working for the Russians, okay? And so who they're going to be arresting, okay? So this is the kind of thing that goes on with European racism, okay? And when things get to the point where it is now, people, minorities, and people like that are the first one to bear the brunt of it, and this is what's going on in Ukraine, okay? So I mean, I see the media is over here, pushing their narrative about this war. And, as usual, it's a one-sided, simplistic narrative, without taking any kind of nuance. It's just, basically just propaganda. They just, I mean, it's ridiculous. Anyway, at the end of the day, the situation over there, like I said, is a situation that needs to be solved by the parties involved. We don't need to get involved in it. We don't need to involve in our boxing over here. Okay, these boxing sanctioning bodies need to stop bowing to pressure and war hysteria. Talk about the monitoring in a fight with Russian fighters. I mean, what is this McCarthyism? I mean, it's like we're on a slippery slope with all this, hysteria that's going on. I mean, so, I mean, right now there's war going on in Yemen. I don't see anybody, banning the Saudi Arabians, for fighting in against the Yemenis. They're not banning them in sports. So this whole thing about banning Russian fighters is ridiculous. Leave the Russian fighters alone. Okay, they got enough problems as it is with what's going on. So, let's keep these two things separate. War and politics and boxing. Boxing is a different thing. It's a sport. It's not involved in all that politics. So we need to keep them separate. So basically that's all I want to say about that. And like I said previously, Afghanistan and Iraq, like I said before, you have in Afghanistan and in Iraq, you had Ukraine. Okay, they supported the war in Iraq. Okay, they supported the war in Afghanistan, the invasion of Iraq, and the war in Afghanistan. So, At that time, I didn't hear, Vladimir Klitschko talking about we need to ban all the people that participate in the invasion of Iraq or the destruction of Libya. Okay, so I mean now he's because it's Ukraine, he's coming out and saying nah, we're not buying that. We don't want to hear that. Okay, let's leave this thing separate. I feel for the people that's involved in any war, and the war in Ukraine is no different. And like I said, we don't, war is never the answer, but we don't want to get boxing involved in that. You know what I mean? So I don't see that as being productive. It's not good for boxing because then that can look at different people and ethnicities fight it's in the boxing game. So what are you going to do every time one of them get involved, one of their countries get involved in a war? You're going to ban that fighter depending on the politics that you have with the either side? No, we don't want to do that, and we shouldn't start now. We should never do that. So yeah, leave that to leave politics to politics and leave boxing to boxing. That's how I see that. Boxing already got its own politics. So don't need to get involved in some other politics. Okay, we have enough politics already in boxing without getting involved in that. Okay, and so every time there's a war, we're gonna be banning people. It's ridiculous. It's silly. Okay, and it's just again just bowing to mob rule and mob pressure. Okay, and we should never do that. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'm kind of disappointed in Klitschko for coming out and saying that. I mean, yeah, why you want to inject all of that into boxing? That's not right. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to say too much about it. Okay, I said what I had to say. That's all I have to say for right now. This is TBE Boxing saying, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That's all I got for right now. I'm out. Check this out. I'm the way out.
Got the mind of a man, it's pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is a lot I chose.
Oh, hold on. Like I was saying, check this on the way out. I wanted to show you this. This is a video done by some Africans, the same Africans the Ukrainians are persecuting right now. Keeping them at the border, keeping them in the war zone. They did a video about a Ukrainian folk song that's not bad really. It's pretty good, and I think it's pretty popular in the Ukraine as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken. But here you go, check it out.
There's no choice. Yeah, but there's no choice. Choice.
Tish me ne pit manula, tish me ne pit vela, a tish me ne maladora, ziuma razuma vela.
Yeah, this is my favorite beat.
There's no choice.
Come on.
Tika la vokali dilo, a pidem prato, babadino, ya prisho, tebenyema, a pid manula pid.
All right, so that's all. So I don't want to get a copyright strike. You can go ahead and check it out. Look for it on YouTube. Okay. Again, this is TBE Boxing. I'm out.
Got the mind of a man, it's pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, On the block with the pole, This is the life that I chose, On the block with the pole, That life before riches, That life before riches, Pretty bitch, show me titties, And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it.